Hello everyone, I'm Aaron from DataStax. Today, I'm going to take you through migrating an open source Cassandra cluster into Misson Control. All right, let's go. So as you can see here, we have a simple 3-node Cassandra cluster. It's out, built on individual VMs, out on GCP, so Google's compute platform. I've done a little node tool status here so that we can all see the nodes that are in there. If I do a node tool describe cluster, you'll see that the name of our cluster is Corrosive Steel, and our one data center is Lakeside Park, and it has 3 nodes, and we're running on Cassandra 4.1.6. So yeah, that's that. Shows all 3 nodes. You can see our key spaces along with their replication strategies and factors that have been built in here. If we get into CQL shell, you can see that I have the e-commerce key space that we've talked about before. So I can do a select star from featured product groups. Bam, we get data back. Select star from product. Hey, we get data back. So there's definitely data out here. Just so that we have something to prove, that, hey, our data did in fact make it over once we get our new cluster built. All right, well, I will sign into Misson Control here. I'm going to build a brand new cluster. Now, to migrate our cluster over, we are going to want to make sure that we use the exact same cluster name. So, Corrosive Steel, right there. We also want to match up our version of Cassandra, which is going to be Cassandra 4.1.6. We don't need to override the image. The name of our new data center is going to be Fountain of Lamneth. Yep, that's okay. For rack, we'll go R10. We'll say 3 nodes per. We'll build our nodes at 8 gigabytes using the standard storage class, and we'll just go 20 gigs. That should be plenty. I will create a super user password. All right. I don't need to mess around with the backup and restore configs. For the heap, since we have 8 gigs of RAM, I'm going to use a 4 gig heap. And now I'm going to specify my external data center of Lakeside Park. Just like that. Now I need the internal seed, the routable IP of one of the nodes in my current cluster. And I'm going to use this 10.128.0.60. That is the one I'm going to specify there. All right. Oh, I also want to make sure that I disable internode encryption because my current cluster does not have that. So we'll disable that, and we'll say create. And we'll go here where we can watch our cluster come up. All right, 2 of our nodes have IP addresses, and they all have a status of starting. So things are starting to move along. Oh, there's a 3rd IP address. Outstanding. Okay, our first node is up and running. And if I switch over to my command line here, should be able to see that new node by doing a node tool status. Hey, here we go. Data center Lakeside Park. You can see we have our 3 original nodes. And you can see we also have a data center of Fountain of Lamneth with our new node up and running. Oh, and all 3 nodes are up and running. So now we can flip back to one of our original nodes, and we can rerun our node tool status, and we should see all 6 nodes up and running. There we are. Lakeside Park Data Center, Fountain of Lamneth data center. Perfect. Okay, so we have our new nodes up. Now let's go ahead and rerun our node tool describe cluster. All right, the important part here is that you can see that the system traces, system distributed, and system auth key spaces have been updated to have 3 replicas in each data center. You can also see that their replication strategy was upgraded from the simple strategy to the network topology strategy, which of course is required for multi-data center deployments. Now you'll notice though that our e-commerce key space, the one we care about, the one our application cares about, still is only defined for the Lakeside Park data center. So we are going to need to modify that to include 3 replicas for the Fountain of Lamneth data center. So let's do that quick. I can do a use e-commerce, and I can describe key space. All right, let's go all the way to the top here. Now you can see our key space definition is right here, e-commerce with replication of class network topology strategy, that's good, but only Lakeside Park with 3 replicas. So let's copy that and say alter keyspace e-commerce with replication equals class network topology strategy Lakeside Park 3, and we're also going to say fountain dash of dash Lamneth. And then close that with a semicolon. Okay, so now we've adjusted the replication, which of course, as you know, is good for all future writes to make sure that they get to both data centers in the e-commerce key space. However, the existing data is still in our original data center of Lakeside Park, and we need to transfer that over. So we're going to remember that for a second while we quick do some other things. All right, since I'm running in Google Cloud, I'm going to go ahead and search for one of my nodes here, one of my new Caressive Steel nodes. There we go. So this is node Caressive Steel, Fountain of Lamneth, R10 STS2. And I'm going to expose this node. And we're going to need 9042. And type load balancer, and I will expose. Okay, now if I scroll down, you can see that I do have a load balancer here. Click into it, and that is my new IP, or that is my external IP on this cluster. All right, so I've gone ahead and connected up to our new nodes using that load balancer IP. And because we haven't done a rebuild or any type of repair yet on the system auth key space, I had to use the Cassandra user. So for now, that's the only user that's been replicated. So that's kind of what I'm stuck with for now. So if I do a use e-commerce and I say select star from featured product groups, you see I get nothing. Okay, so no data has moved over yet. So that's what we need to change. In order to move my data over, I need to do a node tool rebuild on each node. And I'm going to accomplish that by running a task in Kubernetes that I'm going to build in just a second here. So let's have a look at my rebuild FOL YAML file. To do this, I'm going to specify an API version here, just our Cassandra v1 alpha. I'm going to specify a specific kind called Cassandra task. For the metadata, I'm just going to call it, rebuild Fountain of Lamneth. I'm specifying my namespace of Aaron's proj, and it has like an identifier slug on the end here. For the spec for the job, I'm specifying a data center of Fountain of Lamneth, but I need to prepend that with the Caressive Steel cluster name. Down here, I'm specifying my namespace one more time. The specific job is going to be called rebuild fountain of Lamneth. And it's going to execute the command or the Cassandra task of rebuild, which is the equivalent of doing a node tool rebuild. And that's going to use Lakeside Park as its source data center. All right, so with all that there, I'm going to run a kube control apply -f, and then I'm going to say rebuild and -- namespace. Always want to make sure you specify that. And my namespace is Aaron's proj plus the slug. All right, so our Cassandra task has been created. Now to view that, I'm going to do a kube control describe Cassandra task rebuild fountain of Lamneth, namespace, Aaron's proj. There we go. So, you can see that this Cassandra task was indeed created. It has a timestamp here, and you can see it actually ran already and was completed. So, complete. Okay, we should be good. Given that, now that rebuild has run, I should be able to CQL shell into one of those nodes as something other than the Cassandra user. And you can see my Aaron user does indeed work now. So that means that rebuild was successful. Let's have a look at the e-commerce key space. So if I do a select star from product again, oh, we have products, all right. Featured product groups, hey, outstanding. How about the price? We have prices, excellent. So our data's moved over. The next thing we need to do is worry about getting rid of our old Cassandra nodes. So the way we can do that starts by adjusting the replication factor in the key space. So again, I'll do a describe on key space. We'll scroll up here and get our key space replication definition. And I can say alter key space e-commerce. Now we want to keep the class of network topology strategy. We want to keep the definition for fountain of Lamneth, but we're going to get rid of the definition for Lakeside Park. And then put a semicolon on the end. Perfect. Now, there are a few other key spaces that we need to do this with as well. First of all, Misson Control uses Reaper in order to run repairs. So what we're going to do is also adjust the replication factor for the Reaper DB key space. And we have to do the system key spaces as well, specifically 3. System distributed, and then system traces, and then system auth. Oh, okay, so it won't let us do system auth. This is actually a built-in safety feature that prevents you from locking yourself out of one of your data centers. So really, we'll just need to keep that in mind when we go about decommissioning our old data center. All right, so I'm going to SSH out to one of my nodes, and I can do, let's see here, make sure I'm in the correct directory. Just have a look at the status. Yep, 3 and 3. So I am actually on this node right here. So let's go ahead and do a bin node tool decommission. And we run into another safety feature around the system auth key space that won't let us decommission a node if we're going to drop below a certain number of replicas in the system auth keyspace. This is directly related to the warning that we just saw when you tried to reduce the replication factor or eliminate the replication factor for the Lakeside Park data center. So in order to get past that, we just need to do a -- force. This might take a little bit of time. All right, the decommission is complete. Now if I run a node tool status, you can see that the Lakeside Park data center is down to 2 nodes in the data center. So the next thing I need to do, because Cassandra is running here using the PID file at startup, I can go ahead and do a kill cat Cassandra.pid. And then just to make sure that's not there, we can do a psef grep Cassandra. Yep. Okay, so I've taken one of the original nodes out of the cluster. Now I'm just going to repeat that process for the 2 remaining nodes in the Lakeside Park data center. Okay, I've just finished the decommissioning of the last node, and you can see my Lakeside Park data center was down to a single node. So now I should be able to run node tool status on this old node, and it should still be able to gossip with the cluster and tell me that we just have the Fountain of Lamneth data center, and that's it. So last step here is to kill Cassandra running on this server. Make sure that's dead. Okay. So now, if we have a look at Misson Control here, you can see our Caress of Steel cluster is active. Everything looks good. But we have a couple of alerts over here. And if I have a look at the alerts, you can see that we have replicas that are unavailable in our deployment, unhealthy pods, and this is directly related to the Caress of Steel Fountain of Lamneth Reaper service. And if you go and have a look at the repairs tab here, you'll see that, well, we haven't run any repairs yet. But if I try to run a repair, the keyspace dropdown is empty. And again, this is because the Reaper service can't run right now. So why is that, you might ask? Well, there are a few users that are automatically created when you create a new cluster with Misson Control. However, if that cluster already exists, those users do not get created. Specifically, it's our cluster super user, a user for Medusa, and a user for Reaper. So we need to recreate those 3 users before our cluster will work appropriately. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do here is a kube control get secret, and we'll say Caress of Steel Reaper. And I'm going to use my namespace, and then I want this output as YAML. Okay, so the good news is that Misson Control has generated the username and password of the Caress of Steel Reaper user, as well as the users for Medusa and the super user itself. They've just been encoded in base 64. So to actually see what those are, we can just really simply do an echo, and I'm going to copy the username here and paste that. Then I'm going to pipe that to base 64-D for decode. Bam, and you can see that is indeed the Caress of Steel-Reaper user. And then I can just do the same thing for the password. And it usually helps if I don't have a space in there. All right, and there's the password. And now I can do the same thing for the Medusa user. And again, I can just say echo that password, pipe it to base 64-D, and we have our password, just like that. Now we can go back into CQL shell. So we can do a use system auth. Describe the key space. Right. We actually need to shorten this up a little bit because we still have replicas going to the non-existent Lakeside Park data center. So let's take care of that first. So we'll do an alter keyspace system auth and just have that replicating to Fountain of Lamneth. All right. Now we can go ahead and create our users for Reaper and Medusa. Select star from roles. There we go. You can see the Cassandra user is still there, and my user is also still there. All right, so let's go create role. I'm going to say Crest of Steel Reaper, and with this needs to be a super user. Super user equals true, and login equals true, and password equals. Paste that in. Oh, right. Because of the dashes, the Caress of Steel Reaper username is also going to need single quotes. There we go. Okay, so now let's do the same thing for the Medusa user. All right, and with super user true and the login true and password equals, and I'll copy in my Medusa password. All right, there you go. Now you can see I have all of the roles present. So we have our Crest of Steel Reaper, I have my own Crest of Steel Medusa, the Cassandra user, and the Crest of Steel super user role. All right, those are all there. Well, that's odd. So somehow it looks like my replication settings on the ReaperDB keyspace were reset to go ahead and deploy or ensure that there are replicas available in both data centers. In order for this to work, we are going to want to make sure that it's just replicating to the Fountain of Lamneth data center. So let's do that. There we go. Just specifying ReaperDB keyspace with 3 replicas to the Fountain of Lamneth data center, and then none to the Lakeside Park data center. There. All right. So now, if I head into Caress of Steel, and actually this should be okay now, because we did fix that. All right, so we have our 3 running nodes here. Let's see here. So now if we head into repairs and we say run repair, well, we still only have, we still don't have any key spaces listed. So what we need to do is to actually restart the Kubernetes pods for Cassandra Reaper that are running inside of our cluster. Here we go. I feel the best way to actually restart the pods out here is by using the Reaper deployment, and then I can go ahead and scale it and say edit replicas, and I'm going to change that replica 1 to replica 0 and hit scale to scale it down to 0. And you can see that pod then is terminating. So if I refresh here, excellent, no more pods. Now I can go back to actions, scale, edit replicas, scale it back to 1, and now it ought to pull in the new version. All right, you can see I'm having a look at the pods here, and my Caress of Steel, Fountain of Lamneth, Reaper pod is initializing. So hopefully that comes up okay. Let's have a look again here. Okay, it's running. Look at that. Oh, It's running, but 0 of 1 are ready. All right, I want to give it another second here. Okay, there we go. Our pod is indeed running, and we have 1 of 1 in the replica set ready. So now, if we go back to Misson Control, just have a look at our alerts here. Unhealthy pod. Oh, that was 43 minutes ago. But the other one is cleared, so that's good. That's good. Now, if I click Run Repair, bingo, we have our key spaces listed. Outstanding. So I can select the e-commerce key space. I'll keep the defaults, and I'll say Run. And now our repair is indeed running on our e-commerce key space. So, hey, we've gone ahead and migrated our cluster over from an old data center running on, like just regular instance VMs. We've brought it into Misson Control inside of, our Kubernetes project, which is what, Misson Control uses for deployment of nodes. We've gone ahead and we've moved the data over, we've decommissioned the old nodes, and we've gone ahead and created the users that Misson Control needs to make sure that our cluster runs smoothly. All right, that should do it. For more information on DataStax Misson Control, just head on out to datastax.com/products/Misson Control. There you can find all the information you need, including downloads and documentation. Thank you and have a great day.